we are gonna get started here in. Actually, hang on. Let me fix that real quick. The camera is mad at me. Why is it showing that? There we go. All right. Excellent. In 5, 4, 3.
Like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for January 27th, 2025. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, did Switch 2 pre-orders really go live? Xbox will continue to port games to other platforms, and another PlayStation 5 exclusive heads to PC. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Emma Fyffe, everybody. Emma, how are you doing?
Hello. Man, how am I doing? It's I got a lot of stuff going on right now.
What do you got going on? How busy can you really be?
Oh boy. Hilarious. This is some inside track stuff. I keep getting harassed by finance because they're like, "Hey, you have a lot of expenses on your card," and I'm like, "I know, I don't have time. I can't do any administrative work. I have too many other things happening." But it's all great. It's all great, you know. I'm flying up to San Francisco later today, and then I come back tomorrow night, and then film something on Wednesday, and so it's just there's a lot going on. But I did go to Distant Worlds. I think we're on Distant Worlds 7 now or something like that. At Peacock Theater last Friday. Yeah, Friday over the weekend. It was nice. It was really fun. Thank you, Square Enix, for inviting me.
Yeah, they were in Cleveland not too long ago. I was supposed to go, but then it was during the Lions game, and it turns out I should have just gone to the Final Fantasy concert instead. But
you know, I like they always invite me. Every single time I've been invited, be it for a Distant Worlds or the Final Fantasy VII concert they were doing,
right?
I'm never in town. Like I don't know why it always lines up with when I'm away. But this time it worked out, and it was great.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. That sounds good. Yeah, busy couple of days. A lot of traveling that makes a ton of sense to me. All the traveling that you're doing. But I am glad that you were able to make it happen this morning. Glad to see we had last Monday off, so we'll get back into the swing of things here and have some fun talking about video games. You've been playing anything recently, though? I mean, I know you're busy, but...
Can I tell you that last night I literally... So Gabe was in my Steam account because he downloaded UFO 50 to my Steam account, and so he was playing that on the Rogue Ally, so I couldn't play my... favorite anxiety relief game, which is Hades 2.
Sure, you guys got to do that family sharing thing. It works really great now.
I know, we do, yeah. But because like he has an account. Anyway, we'll get that all sorted out later. So I literally loaded up my save file of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth just to play Queen's Blood.
Yeah, that's they got to figure something out there. They got to just put out Queen's Blood as its own thing eventually.
And you know what? I had a great time, and I was just like building new decks, and it was great.
If Queen's Blood was separate, where would it have been on your Game of the Year list last year?
It was on my Game of the Year
list. You put it on there? Okay, I think that's what I'm like remembering. I'm like, that sounds familiar. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's the good way to do it. Yep. All right, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders go live at one European retailer with a cheaper than expected price. This is from Adam Majestica at The Shortcut. Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders are live at one European retailer. The console is on sale at this retailer for what equates to about $380. Nintendo hasn't announced the console's price or release date yet, or pre-order information for that matter. All of that is expected to come on or very near April 2nd when they do the dedicated Switch 2 Direct that they have promised to do when they did the tiny little reveal last week before. I can't keep track anymore. Yeah, this is something that I'm leading off with here just because, boy, a lot of people were talking about this, got a lot of attention, especially that price. People are like, oh, is this what it's going to be? And I think we can safely assume, Emma, this retailer is just trying to get attention and is guessing, right?
Yeah, that sounds low to me for a price. But again, I do remember when the Switch was announced and it was only $300. And I was like, wow, that's a get it in the household price.
Mm-hmm.
It still seems to me that that's going to be a little too low. And as you say, here's a retailer just making a wild guess and seeking attention. But then I don't know. This doesn't seem right.
Yeah, I think that it's very unlikely this comes in under $400. It's probably going to be 400. I think it's gonna be 400 on the dot. I think that's the safe zone for Nintendo, where it's like they're probably going to be manufacturing these things for quite a bit less than that, so they'll have some wiggle room with tariffs. Whether or not they come, they still have to have wiggle room just because they don't really know. And then it's not so expensive that it gets into that PS5 Pro territory where it's like, actually, this is a painful price, and a lot of people don't like the way this feels to have to pay this much for this particular device. I think $450, $500, you are pricing the Switch 2 in a way that is very uncompetitive when you compare it to a PS5 standard or an Xbox Series X. So $400 feels right.
Yeah.
And for this retailer, it's €365 that they're actually marking the price for. If they honor that price, I don't think that's going to hurt them so much, because the whole idea is get a lot of early pre-orders, and then people will buy some games through you as well when they do that or whatever. Get a little bit of extra attention and raise your profile. So it'll probably be worth it to them. And then on the other side, I think they are that's the price, but I think they're taking deposits. It's like €15 or something like that.
I see.
So if Nintendo comes back and it's like, how dare you? We are not going to send any to you because you did this, which they may or may not do.
Which they may or may not do.
Yeah, right. They easily could. They also could easily just not care about this. Either way, though, refunding that €15 is not going to be too painful for this retailer either. So they're taking a gamble. But in terms of what this means for Nintendo or information from Nintendo, doesn't mean anything, right?
No. Yeah, I do think that putting up pre-orders, simply guessing, and again, not having any inventory in place in terms of an agreement with Nintendo is a risky move.
Oh yeah.
Because Nintendo they're very, very proprietary of all of their stuff. To the point that, famously in the 80s, when there were companies that had figured out how to sort of bypass the Nintendo chip that was in all of the game cartridges, any retailer who was going to carry one of those cartridges that was not that was like a third party, not officially made by Nintendo game, Nintendo basically would say, okay, great, Toys R Us, we're not going to send you Mario then. Yeah. So this is, I don't know, this is a big gamble. I assume they have some sort of license agreement in place with Nintendo as a retailer who has sold Nintendo products in the past, but
yeah, I'm only vaguely aware of how that stuff works. I assume it's they have an agreement with the distributor, and that distributor has to maintain relationships on both sides, on Nintendo and with the retailers, mostly with Nintendo, who would probably be a little bit more touchy than the retailers. Yes. Again, taking a risk, but whatever. The retailer could do whatever they want.
Sure.
As far as I wasn't ever going to be pre-ordering from an Italian retailer. That was never going to be. So it's like, hey, if you screw this up for yourselves and the people pre-ordering through you, bummer. But my hope is that Nintendo on April 2nd is just like, hey, actually, the ideal scenario is on April 2nd. They're like, hey, if you are a Nintendo Switch Online member, just like with Alarmo, you could pre-order through us exclusively for a window. and sort of, get around the really bad side of the scalpers. I would love that to be the case. That's the move I would make. And then if that's not an option, if it's like, oh, okay, just, it's going to be a free-for-all online, I might actually go to a physical retailer and pre-order through them. Just like show up in the store, get that kind of guaranteed, and see if I can just get my ticket that way. And, we're still gonna have to wait to find out that information, probably until April 2nd. And so, okay, I'll continue to wait. Switch 2, still very fascinating, still very, it's drawing a lot of attention, despite it being sort of a fizzle of an announcement, because everything was already known. People still deeply, deeply care about it.
They do.
All right, let's switch over here, kind of staying on Switch news, but from Phil Spencer this time. Phil Spencer confirms Xbox will support Switch 2, and confirming he congratulated Nintendo's president on the announcement. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. Microsoft's gaming CEO has praised Nintendo Switch 2 and said it plans to support the upcoming platform with ports of Xbox games. Nintendo has finally announced the new Switch earlier this month, and although no games have been officially announced for the platform, Xbox's teams are said to be prepping multiple releases, including Diablo 4, Halo the Master Chief Collection, and Microsoft Flight Simulator. Those are all according to rumor. Microsoft's newly acquired Activision has also committed to releasing Call of Duty games on Switch 2 via the agreement with the FTC. That's confirmed because that is something they said publicly to the FTC.
Yes.
Speaking in a new interview with Gamertag Radio, shout out to the boys over there, published on Friday, Spencer confirmed Xbox would be supporting the platform and said he exchanged messages with Nintendo's president following the Switch 2's reveal. I was exchanging emails with Furukawa-san, the CEO of Nintendo. I gave him a big congrats and said my old eyes appreciate the larger screen, he said. Nintendo, their innovation and what they mean in this industry, I just always applaud the moves that they make. They did a little flash video, and I know we'll get more details over time. I'm really looking forward to it. Blah, blah, blah. They are just masterful in what they do. Switch is a massive success, and I think Switch 2 will be as well. Spencer's comments come as little surprise given Xbox's modern commitment to bringing its games to as many devices as possible. Xbox first announced in February 2024 plans to bring a wave of games to PlayStation and Nintendo Switch in what appeared to be a significant change of strategy, starting with Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. Multiple of those games came to the Switch 1. Some did not, but it seems like Sea of Thieves easily could show up on Switch 2, something that was rumored to come to Switch. This is right in line, and this is something that basically Spencer has confirmed over and over again, but in this latest round of interviews, like this one he did with Gamertag Radio, he also showed up on a couple other podcasts, Xbox Era. I think he sat down with Destin Legary, and it seems like this is the chance to like really communicate once and for all to Xbox fans that this is it going forward, and there are no more red lines about games that just couldn't ever come to other systems. It's all on the table, and supporting Switch 2 at that point makes a ton of sense, right?
I mean, absolutely. And the smartest thing that Xbox could possibly do is to have a version of Game Pass that runs on Switch, particularly because Switch is already in the market of carrying a lot of those smaller indie games. It's one of the things that I actually do really appreciate about the Switch is you do get incredibly good indie game distribution on it. And a lot of those games come to Game Pass as well, be it for a limited period of time. But, that kind of the thinking behind there is it's like, okay, well, you have the game and you played it on Game Pass and now you like it. And so then you end up buying it at that, typically $20-ish price point. So, I mean, especially in a market wherein you have things like the Ally, which you can't quite see in my frame, but I have it all like rigged up. Let me just put this effectively is a Switch. You know what it looks like a Switch. It acts like a Switch. It runs Windows 11 badly, but that's my only complaint about it. But I can play my Game Pass games on, so it's like, I feel like in order to be in the, Switch is not the only name in the game of the handheld to play on another screen console world at this point. So, yeah, I mean, I think that it would be tremendously beneficial for them to have that partnership with Xbox. And again, it's like, the thing about Xbox that I said is that Xbox is in the market of selling Game Pass. That is what they're in the market of selling. They are not in the market of selling Xboxes. The idea is, that's why when the last generation of consoles launched, they had that lower price point Xbox. I have an Xbox Series S. It is a Game Pass machine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, look, if you could, even if it was an additional subscription fee, or people who don't have an Xbox or aren't PC players, and they now can get Game Pass for the Switch, that would be a gigantic win for Microsoft.
Yeah, and it's at this point, I think even if it takes a long time for that wall to come down so that they can put out a version of Game Pass on these other devices, they are happy to be we'll continue with Game Pass where we can put it out. And then we could supplement all the money we're spending on making all these games by just selling these games on other platforms. And we expect that to slowly erode. We're going to talk about the physical game sales thing here in a little bit. But there's a way to force the industry to do stuff, and there's a sort of lead a horse to water way of getting the industry to do things. And I think Microsoft investing a ton of money in games over the last several years is looking at the very, very, very long term on all of these problems that it faces, and very, very, very long term in terms of all the disruption that it was aiming to do very quickly with Game Pass, and that sort of has hit a wall. And they're okay, well, we will continue having all these things as options. And when we say, hey, we're going to have our games on Switch 2, we don't expect Furukawa, even though we're totally exchanging emails. As Nikki points out, maybe he just sent an email and Furukawa didn't send him one back. I don't know.
Slid into his DMs.
Yeah, totally exchanging emails. Maybe Furukawa is not necessarily hey, bring Game Pass over here. Probably thinking, yeah, bring Halo over here, sell games, pay us licensing fees. But over time, as that stuff sort of softens and they do become closer partners, a version of Game Pass on all these other devices, a Nintendo device, a PlayStation device, long term becomes more likely over time.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, look, it's kind of building off of what Nintendo already has in place with their Super Nintendo, N64, OG Nintendo collections that you can get through those various subscriptions through Nintendo Switch Online. But yeah, I mean, I think that if you could add a version of that also includes Xbox games.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and I of course, people are gonna be hey, Game Pass, it's too weird for it to be on these other platforms. We're saying, a version of Game Pass where it's
a version of it.
Maybe it is just first party Xbox games or something like that. That things that
totally
they have complete control of and can sign agreements with Nintendo about to make it less painful for Nintendo if that's what they care about. Mike, Phil Spencer had more to say. So we're talking about, hey, other games coming to other things that aren't Xboxes. What about the Xbox? What about the box itself? Well, Phil Spencer explains why you should keep buying an Xbox in the multi-platform era, and basically saying we want to win on its capabilities. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. Phil Spencer has discussed where Xbox console hardware fits within its new, more open approach to multi-platform game development. Since the start of last year, Microsoft has brought an increased number of games to rival platforms, and its gaming CEO, Phil Spencer, has said there are now no red lines for which games it could port next. Its new marketing campaign even proclaims that virtually any device is now an Xbox. This has left many Xbox console owners wondering where their devices fit in Microsoft's plans for an ever more open ecosystem. Xbox's Phil Spencer was asked about this in a new interview with Gamertag Radio. I want people to pick hardware based on the capabilities of that hardware and how that fits into the choices that they want to make about where they want to play. And we want our hardware to win based on the hardware capabilities that we have. I think the difference that we've seen in the last 20 years, and I think this is good because I come from building games, is it's really games first, not platform first. Most of the games that you or I will talk about run across so many different platforms, and those are the games that are having success. Those are the games at the top of the charts. I want to build a platform that services those creators, the creators that are trying to meet people on every screen. I think this is reiterating stuff we've heard for some time now. Of course, reassuring people that if you do want to keep buying Xbox consoles, they will keep making that. They will focus on presenting a nice hardware picture in terms of, hey, it's got a lot of capabilities. What this really says to me, though, Emma, is that they need to open up the Xbox hardware even more. And that's in line with some of the rumors we've heard about. Hey, the next Xbox could be open to Steam or Epic Game Store or any number of other platforms, including if PlayStation wants to bring a store to Xbox, they'd be willing to do that. Of course, PlayStation, very unlikely to do that anytime soon.
Very unlikely, however.
But long term, again. And I think that is probably lining up with what he's saying here, right? Because the hardware capability matters only up to the point of like, can I get all those games on here? And,
correct.
And yes, and then once you can, it's like, okay, now I do care about the capabilities.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, it's like it is in line with the conversation almost that we were having about bringing Xbox titles to the Switch. Yeah. It's like, well, then we also need to expand what's available on Xbox, because we're in a world wherein, you can get lots of things that run various. I mean, like, for example, again, I very recently got my Rogue Ally and I'm extremely in love with it. But now I'm like, well, I can play all my PC games on this. So now I'm going to get everything on PC because then I can play everything handheld. Yep. Which I love. I love having that capability. And so certainly, with Xbox, which is very much a tethered system, so to speak. But that being said, Game Pass works for both PC and Xbox. I don't have separate subscriptions for PC and Xbox. That's all one subscription. So if, you're able to get something like, say, a Steam or an Epic Game Store on an Xbox, like that's huge. That's super important. And in line with Microsoft in general and being in the PC market. So yeah, I mean, if Xbox would like to get back in the business of selling Xboxes, they do need to make some expansions to their hardware, particularly because, again, at the launch of the most recent generation of consoles, the PS5, the Xbox Series X, when at the time I was working at Venn, I was hosting The Download, their daily news show, and we actually did a console Olympics of the PS5 versus the Xbox Series X. In terms of just load speeds and run capacity, et cetera, et cetera. And the PS5 smoked the Xbox Series X in basically every category. Mm-hmm. So, but that being said, if Xbox is opening up this entire ecosystem of games, which is in line with what Phil Spencer is saying, being in the business of games over console hardware, then that all makes perfect sense.
Yep, it is the kind of thing where they are not so worried about selling Xboxes anymore, as you said, and they are not so worried about when you do buy an Xbox, protecting their ecosystem, because their ecosystem is in Call of Duty now, and their ecosystem is inside of Minecraft and all these other massive platforms that are games themselves that they want to ensure continue to be on every device, and they will be on every device. But it's like that's the business model now for them, and it's trying to protect a tiny little garden next to the massive crop fields of Call of Duty, just harvesting cash at every turn. It doesn't make sense anymore. So they are like, okay, let's try to apply this way of thinking to everything. And what is the logical conclusion there? And they're trying to just hop to that point, I think. And I think it's also a good idea for when they have a handheld, because they keep talking about they're going to have a handheld. What's that handheld going to be like? Do you think people are going to buy a handheld just if it's just an Xbox closed down ecosystem? They might. Some people will. But it'll be a lot more enticing if it's just and get any game you want on here, and this is the one the handheld that will definitely run Call of Duty as opposed to the Steam Deck, which can't because of anti-cheat and stuff like that. And so I think it just kind of and not only that, then it also kind of starts to reshape the industry again, leading the horse to water slowly and kind of enticing it, saying, let's try to make gamers want devices that can play anything. And then at a certain point, the PlayStation 5 begins to look antiquated compared to what we're offering, or the PlayStation 6 at that point, because it's why these lockdown ecosystems, that's the old way of doing things. Again, long way before we're there, but it definitely feels like that's what the landscape that they're trying to create. I ask you then, okay, let's say all of that does come to pass. What does a highly capable and enticing Xbox look like? Because a very expensive box called the Xbox next to a PC, it's why wouldn't I just get a PC? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, here's why you wouldn't just get a PC, and I think that as people who are very much entrenched in the gaming world market games media, we are inclined to get PCs. The thing about consoles, and this is me growing up as primarily a console gamer, the only PC games I really have any memory of playing as a kid are Baldur's Gate 2, Diablo 2, and The Sims. So the way that PCs are, they are more finicky than a console. A console is ready to go. You don't need to upgrade your graphics card. You don't need to have various drivers. Like, that is all in place. And so you just take it, you plug it into your TV, and it works. Mm-hmm. So that's very much what the appeal of the console is. So again, if you have an Xbox that is capable of accessing all of those things that you would have on your PC, I think that, there's plenty of people who would be totally into that. But yeah, that's my opinion about it, is it's like you need to give it the level of access that you have on a PC.
Yeah, I think that, and as long as they can maintain that while then offering that openness, that'll be the challenge.
Right. Well, and also offering it at a price point where it's going to run similarly to a high-end PC, but it's not going to be the same price.
Yeah, a little bit
as
of a discount.
Getting your latest, NVIDIA graphics card or whatever.
Yep, absolutely. All right, last little thing on this. Actually, a couple more things from Xbox. Someone pointed out that they've confirmed that People Can Fly is going to be helping out with Gears of War E-Day. They're going to be partnering up to help finish that game. So that's pretty interesting. And then also, as part of the interviews, Phil Spencer said Starfield on PS5 isn't ruled out. That is like a little bit of the hanging question here. This does come from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot, but basically the story is the headline. Sure, all these future games are coming. There are a lot of relatively recent games. Are those going to suddenly start popping up on PlayStation 5? And I would guess, yeah, probably. They probably just get around to these things eventually. There's going to be long gaps when some of these studios have a long time before, Elder Scrolls 6, who knows when that comes. And in the meantime, there's probably people at that studio that could get that thing working on PS5 no problem. That is definitely worth pointing out. Hey, that's interesting, because when I heard early on before Starfield came out, that was back when it's nope, that is definitely exclusive. It's not coming to PS5. It's not timed exclusive. It's never coming to PS5. Things have changed, though.
Things have definitely changed. I think we're beyond console wars at this point, or the kind of landscape of what entails a console war has very much changed.
I just think the financial incentive that caused these companies to butt heads against one another has just shifted to the point where it's that's a losing proposition. That's loser behavior. And if we are going to be the thing we're actually always butting up against is growth, and we don't get that by taking it away from you. We got to find some new bodies to come into this space, or really we got to go find them where they are and see if we can entice them to spend money where they are on our stuff. And that just necessarily leads to them not caring about trying to keep games off of PlayStation anymore, or keep games off of Xbox. It is that is a backward way of thinking.
Yep.
All right. It's surprising that's that was still conventional wisdom at the start of this generation, and we're a few years later, and it's that does feel like such old head way of thinking. So yeah, things change fast. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is on PC, and it's doing just fine. And we do have one more PlayStation 5 exclusive coming to PC here pretty soon. Talk about all that right after this. All right, let's get back into it. With Final Fantasy VII Rebirth hit the most concurrent Steam players of any single-player Final Fantasy. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. The Steam version of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has hit more concurrent players than any other single-player Final Fantasy game on the platform. Rebirth was released on PC on January 23rd, and according to data on SteamDB, as spotted by Eurogamer, hit a peak of 40,564 concurrent players over the weekend. This is higher than any other single-player Final Fantasy game has achieved on Steam. they do have a list here. For example, Final Fantasy 15 hit 29,000 concurrents, almost 30,000. Final Fantasy 16 had a little bit less than that at 27.5 thousand. And then, of course, the number one would be like one of these expansion launches for Final Fantasy 14 Online, which hit 95,000. A game that is, some would consider even to be PC first. Yeah, I think Rebirth just popping off after like a long delay, like being on PS5 exclusively for quite some time. And then on top of that, being like the kind of game that people go out and get a PS5 to play.
Yes.
I think having 40,000 concurrents, that's people playing at the same time, is pretty impressive for this game, and a good sign. And also, like, the lesson that Square Enix has said it's learned.
Yes, exactly. That's my big takeaway from this is
go ahead.
Square has very much said that I think we need to rethink our approach to releasing these games because we need to get them to more people rather than having this extended exclusivity with PlayStation. And look, like I am a PlayStation girl. I am a ride or die, been on the train since PS1. However, now I'm very much considering possibly buying Rebirth again, simply so I can play it handheld. I mean, look, and this was less than a year of exclusivity on the PS5. Because it came out in end of February last year. Right. So now we're end of January this year. So just under a year, which is a decent turnaround time, particularly because
Final Fantasy,
exactly. Yeah. I feel like usually the Final Fantasy games have a longer exclusivity period. And Square was very smartly offering a twofer with Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth if people wanted to get both. So yeah, I mean, look, this doesn't surprise me at all. I know so many people who are, again, this goes back to the conversation we were having before of, well, why am I going to buy an Xbox when I have a PC that can already do all of these things? And the answer is, well, it's not that the person who doesn't have the PC is going to buy the Xbox, but again, there's so many people who are fans of the Final Fantasy series, but they know that it is going to come to PC and they've invested in their PC. And again, the capabilities beyond simply playing on your PC are superior. So yeah, they waited to play it till it was on, their preferred vessel for gaming.
Yep. And it's for as much as some of these games are system sellers, it's most people just like continuing doing things the way that they always do them, as you're describing there. I think the really good sign here for Square Enix is the trajectory is going up and to the right again. Forget Final Fantasy 15 and 16. Those have their own the baggage attached to them. 15 sold very, very well. 16 was a disappointment according to Square Enix. But Final Fantasy 7 Remake Integrate on PC had 13,000 concurrents at launch.
Yep.
And now this is, almost quadrupling that, at least tripling that. And so it's like, okay, so people played Final Fantasy 7 Integrate, Final Fantasy 7 on PC, and then they are now ready for this game. And now there's even more of them because, the game's in sales over time and more people have played it. And now they are ready to get this new one. I think that is the growth that Square Enix was like, always like, look, hey, is this out here? Well, yes, it is. And now your decision, which apparently you said you made to kind of support all these platforms out of the gate going forward, is clearly the right one, clearly going to pay off. And now all these people that are going to be playing these first two games will be ready for Final Fantasy VII. Have they announced the name for the third one?
No.
What's your guess for it?
Okay, Final Fantasy. Okay, so we had Remake, Rebirth, and then there was also
what was Chrono or I'm sorry, Crisis Core.
Crisis Core
was it Reunion?
Reunion?
I think it was Reunion. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Maybe. Okay, it's going to be another RE.
Yes. Refantasio says top. Yes, probably. That'd be a good one.
Final Fantasy VII Refantasio.
Oh hell.
I think maybe Revolution.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be like, Matrix did that, but Japanese developers love doing that stuff. Like, they did that in that American movie. We should do that too. So I would, that's definitely a possibility.
It could be Final Fantasy VII: The Return, and the last installment is just super trippy.
Reciprocity, Requiem, Resurrection, lots of fun.
Requiem, I'm into. Yeah. Requiem, I'm feeling.
I just like saying reciprocity, so that's a fun. Yeah. All right, let's keep moving here.
Vengeance.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, U.S. physical game spend has halved since 2021. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. U.S. spending on physical video games has more than halved since 2021, according to new data from market research firm Circana. Player spending habits have steadily migrated to digital for more than a decade, driven by faster internet speeds, the emergence of online marketplaces on consoles, and live service games funded by microtransactions. Circana data, supplied by Executive Director Matt Piscatella this week, suggests that the migration towards digital has accelerated since the pandemic. According to a graph showing the past 25 years of U.S. video game software spend, physical games have been cut more than in half since 2021 and are now more than 85% down below its peak from 2008. Really, this chart just shows that there's been a steady decline, and not even like since the pandemic, but like in like the last year or two, the decline is rapidly increasing. And part of that is just, I think a $70 price tag actually, like, it seems like it might be hurting physical more than digital, maybe because it's easier to search for deals for digital, possibly.
For digital, yeah.
Also, like, retailers are, just because of that tepidness from consumers, might be stocking fewer. Like, it's you know what, it's a million variables. That's what it really is. And then this is the manifestation of the environment, where it's like the publishers and the people that make games have like set out this environment of, here, we're going to make it very easy to get digital. We are going to sell you a lot of systems that cost less money, that don't have disk drives, and so there's going to be a significant portion of the audience that doesn't consider digital doesn't consider physical in the first place, and then therefore there will be less stock inside of retailers because they know there's fewer customers to buy, and it just begins to spiral. So of course we are ending up here, and it's such a stark contrast to when we were going to get like all kinds of digital only options with Xbox One, and everyone freaked out and said, how dare you? And it's like, well, they just found another way to get to that same end goal in the long run, right?
Yeah, it's just the industry standard now. And a lot of that, of course, is related to things outside of the gaming industry that we see a parallel with, like all of your streaming subscription services. Once we went down the road of Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, et cetera, physical, Blu-ray sales went way, way down. They're practically non-existent. I have just one friend basically who's obsessed with 3D everything. And so he's a 3D Blu-ray connoisseur collector, forces people to come over to his house.
Blu-rays?
No, you have to get them from Europe.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he has to import them. So I already, it's tough because like I see the value of physical media because you own it. Nobody can take it away from you. It can't just suddenly disappear from your hard drive because like the publisher doesn't want you to have it or whatever. But also I love not having stuff.
Yeah, I really like
like
when I see stuff that I'm like, I don't know where to put that stuff. It gives me agita. I want to like make it disappear. I think, it's not going to get like much better. In fact, it's not. This trend's going to continue, and it could be significantly exacerbated if these tariffs do go through. Again, the uncertainty alone is enough to like cause issues with that, where it's like, people are planning right now. How many copies are we going to print of this game on disc for next year? And they've got to be going, maybe fewer, because if the tariffs go through, we're going to have to raise the prices on these things because there's going to be a huge tax, a 25% tax to ship these into the United States from Mexico. And so let's just like err on the side of digital because with that we have more control there, and we have more last minute control. So
Yeah.
it's going to affect things right now. So there will be less physical just immediately because of the uncertainty. And then if the tariffs really do go through, the price will go up, and the price will go up on digital as well. But again, they have more control there, so they can, do more sales and drop it back down to $70, the new budget, a new budget price. So I guess, Emma, are we going to be able to have a future where it is kind of all limited run games, all these bespoke houses that just do nice runs, nice prints of certain physical games?
I mean, I feel like that is the direction that this is going, to address the criticism behind me saying I love not having stuff, yet I have a desk of toys behind me.
Yeah, we're all hypocrites.
These are collectibles. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
That's the thing, is that it is going to become a collectibles market.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what it is as you say, the limited run games model of, okay, we have this really nice, very specialized, limited physical release of this game that comes with who knows what else, beautiful packaging, etc. So yeah, I mean, that's really like what it is. And yeah, I mean, it's true. I see in chat, Grantimus saying, Steam killed the CD-ROM. And that was kind of the beginning of it. And all of these consoles have online digital stores. And yeah, it's the instant gratification. It's I don't have to go to the store and buy something. I can just buy this, download it, I have it.
I mean, I think the reality here is that when you get a collectible, the thing. And with games, the thing is not the thing. When you show me a game disc, that's not a video game. That's a disc. The video game is what happens on the TV. That is the experience over there.
Yep.
And so,
exactly.
like in chat, let's see here. Dizzy Hippos points out, like, people saying the digital market's going to destroy book sales, and now the physical book sales are back on the rise. The book is the thing. Like, you hold the book.
Yes, book is the thing.
Yes, and the story is the thing itself.
It's in the book.
Sure, but no, you're the act of reading is you're holding the thing, and you're actually doing the thing with the thing.
Correct.
And
I'm not holding a disc.
You don't just
play a video game.
And so it's like, you either have to think of discs as collectibles or then what? And it's like, it's because it's not the experience. So I just think fundamentally it is disconnected it's 1 degree more disconnected. That's all it takes. And now people are like, well, I can get that experience digitally and feel the exact same way about it for the most part.
I mean, give me the old, PlayStation jewel case with the game manual. Like, I was a big reader of game manuals back in the day.
Yep.
And that's just not even how games are packaged anymore.
No, they already cut huge cost on that. They're like, it was probably not that much, but save every penny they could. And God, my favorite game manual of all time, I think, was the WarioWare Mega Micro Games. It was like this little colorful book with all kinds of fun stuff inside of it, little games, and it was a good time. We don't get stuff like that at all anymore. Or when we do, it's from limited run games. And so
correct, exactly. Yeah.
So
who is making it with the collector's market in mind?
Right. And this is how it's going to really work going forward. It's going to look a lot like what Baldur's Gate 3 did. Baldur's Gate 3 comes out as an early access game, and then it gets 1.0 release, and it's digital only. And then when it does very well, they are like, okay, hey, you freaks have been asking us for the physical version. There's going to be a $100 collectible version that has a physical disc with it. It's going to have the entire game on there. We've had time to like really solidify things. So it's going to be a good version that's going to run forever. And that'll be what we sell to you almost a year or more than a year later. And okay, I mean, I don't think that's a great happy medium, but at least it's something. All right. Sega has renewed its trademark for Skies of Arcadia. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. Sega has renewed its trademark for Skies of Arcadia, originally released on the Dreamcast in 2000. Skies of Arcadia was an RPG developed by Sega's Overworks division, previously known as AM7. Starring Vice and Ica, I don't know if I'm saying that right, members of a group of pirates called the Blue Rogues. Skies of Arcadia was praised for its impressive visuals, its engaging story, and its strong localization, which ensured its jokes were relevant for Western audiences. I've played quite a bit of Skies of Arcadia, never finished it, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I remember playing it on the OG Dreamcast. I think it was one of the games that we rented, and then
I think so.
I really liked it, and so I bought it.
Yeah, I think my friend had the Dreamcast, so we would go over to his house, and like when I say go over his house, we basically after school every day in high school.
Yeah.
Lived at his house.
Yep.
And Tony Hawk, Soul Calibur, and then I think we rented this back when rental stores still had like Dreamcast games and any games at all. And
Yep.
and yes, I think I was like, I'm just gonna hang out here all weekend, dude, and let's just play this. And we kind of swapped the controller back and forth. But at a certain point, I was definitely piloting that thing for quite a time. Really enjoyed it. I really like this game. Really like its setting and its vibes.
Yeah.
Kind of always been surprised they haven't done more with Skies of Arcadia. Finally, Trademark is the kind of thing where, God, can we read into this? I want to believe, but it's always worth pointing out that this is the kind of work that can just be done by a lawyer who has time on their hands and just wants to make sure that this, like, all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and maybe nothing more is happening there.
The thing is, though, is that Sega is in the RPG market.
Yes.
Because of their partnership with Atlas.
Yep.
So...
I think they see the growth in that market. Like that
yes, exactly.
That is a growth market. They see the line going up into the right with Persona for a decade, almost 2 decades now with that thing. So, and on top of that, they are also recently in the market of bringing back all of their old IP. I mean, like so many old IP are getting remixed.
Yeah.
They're making a Shinobi game. They're making I find it hard to imagine that they're like, Shinobi, yes. Skies of Arcadia, no. If we're getting another Shinobi, they're easily going to greenlight. I mean, sure, maybe the budgets are different there, but Skies of Arcadia feels like the kind of thing where it's like that is also bringing a certain amount of excitement that you want to tap into.
Well, it feels like a good bet from the point of view that, you know, this was a Dreamcast game.
Yep.
Not that many people had Dreamcast.
No.
I do think that it got a GameCube release also, I want to say.
It was on GameCube, got a sort of definitive edition on GameCube.
Yeah. So there was obviously more people were able to experience it that way. But again, it's like, I look at this as being similar to like a Golden Sun, where people look back on it and there's a lot of nostalgia and enthusiasm. And it's like, oh, this is like a great RPG that isn't Final Fantasy. And let's dive into that market and see how it does. You know, like, again, we've seen Persona grow exponentially in popularity since, what was it, 2015 that Persona 5 came out. So yeah, it's like,
I think it
feels like,
oh yeah, go ahead, finish.
I was going to say, this feels like maybe we can read into it a little bit.
I hope so. And I think that if a Skies of Arcadia remaster/remake gets announced, you get a big pop. And then I think if they announce, and then a Skies of Arcadia like sequel is fully in the works, and it's going to be a big new RPG, and we're going to be working on it at Sega and we're going to be working it hand in hand with our partners over at Atlas to make sure we get everything right. I think that is a very huge announcement, actually. Like, you know, I always say the same thing. Like, if a new Earthbound is announced today, that would be a massive, successful announcement for Nintendo that would just blow people's hair back. Yeah. And
damn. What if that's like the big game
that
they announced with Switch 2 is a new Earthbound?
That would be nuts, actually. I would love that. But yeah, that would be incredible to see. Speaking of the Trademark game here, Bandai Namco also filed a trademark for Tales of the Abyss. This is from Johnny Flores Jr. at The Gamer. Bandai Namco may have just released Tales of Grace's F Remastered, but appears that the company may be preparing for another remaster of a game in the Tales franchise. That said, it isn't the Tales game you're thinking of. As first spotted on Reddit's Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, a new trademark has been filed for Tales of the Abyss. Per the trademark website, the application was filed on January 16th and finalized on January 24th. Originally, Tales of the Abyss launched for the PlayStation 2 back in 2005. It was made in celebration of the franchise's 10th anniversary at that time. They're going to get to all these Tales of games eventually.
They're just going to, I mean, especially because the newer entries in the Tales series have garnered a fair amount of success and attention. I feel like, they're just going to go back and remaster every single one of them. I think the only one I played was, I don't know, I want to say maybe Tales of Eternia. It was a PlayStation 1
joint
because I played Final Fantasy VII, in 97, 98. And then I just was like, I must play every single RPG that's ever been made. So Tales of Destiny, that was the one, Colin RS in chat. Yeah, that's exactly what it was Tales of Destiny.
I know people really like Tales of Symphonia, Tales of...
Oh, yeah.
There's a handful of them that people really like. And those have recently been remastered, so they are going to have to start looking at some of these other ones. And this one makes sense.
And and look, like this is all positive in terms of games preservation, because that is something that was really non-existent. Just didn't exist. So now that you have these games, refiling their copyright claims and licenses, and then being able to, be in a position to remaster and put these games out again, that just is a games preservation move as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. And it's, I think, also keeps these franchises relevant. So when they are ready to do a new one, they have constantly been sort of tending to the bonsai tree of this franchise, and there's people ready to sort of grow into that space. Real quick, this came from gaming Leaks and Rumors, and that subreddit reached its zenith this week when someone posted that they live in the town where Fable is being developed. I think it's Fable. I can't remember. That's not the important part of the story. The important part is they live in a town where a big developer, one of the big Xbox developers, it works. And they said many people from the studio come into this pub and drink very frequently. But recently, in the last couple of weeks, they've been drinking like they've been celebrating something. And so they're like, I think maybe the game might be close to being finished.
Oh, this is fun.
Because of they're in the bar drinking a lot more frequently and like ordering shots for everybody. And I'm just like, let's go. This is the kind of stuff we need to make the internet go around. Gaming Leaks and Rumors, you did it.
That's great.
All right, let's see here. Last story I've written down is Rise of the Ronin coming to PC on March 11th. That is previously a PlayStation 5 exclusive, launched there last year on March 22nd. This is a Koei Tecmo joint that they made with Team Ninja, one of Team Ninja's games. Sort of a Japanese open world action adventure RPG game. And it found something of an audience, but it was more less than a Ghost of, not, I want to say Yotei, but was the Ghost of what was the first one called?
Tsushima.
Yes, thank you, Tsushima. And it was so it's like, I think people were like, hey, I already have that at home. We don't necessarily need to get this one. But I think it could find an audience on PC, and it's like not a bad game by far. It is a very solid open world action adventure RPG. So very cool. Yeah,
there's a lot of people that are into samurai, and good for them.
Yep. I didn't put it in here, but Ubisoft has closed a studio that's been a support studio for quite some time, laying off almost 200 people, downsizing several other studios throughout Europe. I think is kind of the general area where they're doing that. I don't think this sort of announcement stops anytime soon from Ubisoft. They are just gonna they're gonna keep looking around and having to cut costs, because that is a big organization that just isn't making enough money, and it stinks. It continues to stink. And again, no fault to the people doing this work. They worked on several games that did just fine. Mismanagement, though.
I do not think samurai are mid. Daltamon, I'm just saying that's not my preferred game. I don't see samurai and go, ooh, I want to play that. Though I will say that speaking of samurai and ninjas, the new Assassin's Creed game actually seems like it's fun and has some new mechanics. So maybe Ubisoft is gonna finally get a win, especially since they pushed the release date back to not be the same as Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I like I said on Friday's show, I think a lot of previews came out. Most, like, as far as I saw, all were very positive. And then I talked to Tam and Lucy, and they were less enthused. But they're also saying it could also just not be for us. So yeah, we'll see. I think that this is probably going to be the Assassin's Creed game a lot of Assassin's Creed fans were hoping for. And yet I don't know if it's going to be able to break through that seal of.
I know.
Like, oh, is this going to? It's probably not going to be the game Ubisoft needs it to be at the same time. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Poll question from last week. I got that right here. Let me get it all set up so everybody can see it. There it is. Okay, actually, this is the one from there. Let me go back here and refresh. Do you still buy physical games with the new one today? Are you more excited for Assassin's Creed Shadows after the positive previews? There you go. I forgot that we even asked this. I'm going to say yes, I actually am. 41% say yes, 59% say no. Maybe because they were already as excited as they possibly could be, Emma. You never know why they're saying no.
Exactly. Their hype level couldn't be surpassed.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like a pretty solid game to me, actually, and I find myself to be in the mood for an Assassin's Creed game in this moment. Was even like, do I want to go play Valhalla? And I'm definitely not going to go do that. I don't have time to there's no chance I was ever thinking about beating it or something like that.
Sure,
I don't even have time to go get my sea legs in that game. But ready for Shadows. That's going to be out before we know it, so I'll just wait for that. All right.
I hope they have a great mini game like Orlog in Valhalla, which was the bone dice game, which I loved.
Mini games. I hope they have good side quests like the detective game that was in Unity and stuff like that. Just give me all that fun stuff on the side. All right. Got a new poll question. We'll get to that here in a second. Before we do that, Emma Fyffe, tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, all that good stuff.
Well, I deleted Instagram from my phone, and I am just mostly not participating in social media right now. So find me on Blue Sky. That's where I am. You can find me all over the United States of America over the course of the next 2 weeks, as I will be doing some traveling for work. And that's me. Thank you to everybody who showed up to my little charity stream last Monday. It was great. Thank you to Pugtato for the donation matching. I know how much you donated during the Giant Bomb stream, and it was amazing. Thanks. That was really, really fun.
Yep. All right. New poll question. Do you still buy physical games? Yes or no? That is up right now. If you go to youtube.com/@giantbomb, hit the community tab there. You can vote yourself. We'll get the results of that here on Game Mess Mornings, here on Giant Bomb on Wednesday. Speaking of Giant Bomb, on Tuesday, we will have Giant Bombcast returning. Looking forward to talking about some games, talking about some news, talking about whether or not people look up the names of actors on their phone while watching a movie at home. Emma, you ever do that? Have you ever done that in your life? Looked up the name
of an actor in a movie while I'm watching it? Yeah, at home. Not in the movie theater.
Of course not. No, of course not in the movie theater. But at home, it's your home. Who are you bothering? Exactly.
So actually, I was told, this is a little tangent, that one of the ways to try to fight dementia as you're aging is don't look it up. Is trust yourself to remember it.
That's also a fun game as well. That is a good way to do things for sure. Absolutely. But looking up any sort of thing was an argument, and it was people do that. It's pretty normal. Yeah. What's your best click bomb time? I think I got it down to 1 minute and 51 seconds. Clickbomb.com. Everybody, have you seen this, Emma?
Oh.
The community made a clicker game based on some Giant Bomb lore, and so if you go to clickbomb.com, actually maybe you shouldn't because you're busy, so maybe when you get back or something, or maybe on the plane, get your laptop out and play it on there, something like that. That'd be a good way to do it. It is actually really good. All right. There's a bunch of cards with my face on it, so I'm biased. So funny. But it's really good. They did a fantastic job. Chuktowski did a lot of the work.
Nice.
Yeah, Pickle Draft provided a lot of the art and stuff like that. So just shout outs to all the boys over there working on that. That was a lot of fun to play. All right. Let's see. Anything else? I did the poll question. We'll figure out what's going on the rest of the Giant Bomb for the rest of the week. Blight Club should be back. Voicemail dump trick, all the good stuff that you're used to. See if we can get some other fun stuff happening this week. Outside of that, though, Emma Fyffe, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Thank you all for watching and listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye. Okay, we are off of